Kindly ensure you read as many headlines as you can. Are you okay? Oh, sasa nitaona. Nitaona aje. Hello. Hello. Please, if you are seated, ensure you are reading something. Don't just sit. Ensure you are reading something. Huh? Let's get seated. Let's get seated. Let's settle down. Let's settle down. Hello. Let's settle down. And before I start on what I want to talk about, I want to ask those of us that were seen during the instructional rounds, kindly put up your hand. If you are seen during the instructional rounds, kindly put up your hand. Or better still, can you stand up? If you are seen during the instructional rounds, kindly stand up. Now, I want us to do something. I want us to go to a table that has no one standing, or let's ensure that there are two people that are standing at one table. In each table let's ensure there are two people that are standing at one table. Kama unasimama na kuna meza iko na mtu mmoja, let's distribute ourselves and go to those tables. Let's go to those tables. Yes, you can come here. Now, I want you to, those that are standing are the people that we went to the field and saw. Now, I want you to find out from that table what the feeling was if you had planned to be seen and you were not seen. Find out from those people what they felt when they were not seen. And then what the fear was. What is it that they feared would happen if they were seen? And then now I want you to tell them what your experience was. I want you to tell them what your experience was when we came to see you in the field. You could start with your fears. Nobody told me. Huh? They do what? What's the choice of?
What happened?
Nobody told me anything.
Ahmed atakubali tu yeye ndiye amekosea. So let me wacha wamalize hii activity kasikatiziwe.
It's like a small one, eh? We just want to we are demystifying. So let's get going. Let's get going. Let them tell you their fears and also your fears and what your experience was. Ask as many questions as you want from the experts, what the experience was. You have 2 minutes to finish. 2 minutes. You could also tell them what you were looking for. Okay.
My colleague was assessed. I prepared myself, then when he came, he assessed my
Ahmed, kuja. I'm done. So thank you for your time. I want to believe that your questions have been answered. I believe now you understand why we couldn't see everybody. And that which you thought was going to be terrible was actually very something that we should be looking forward to next time. Thank you.
Okay, can we have order? Let's settle down. Let's all sit. Let us have order. Can we have order, please, Biri, and you're in that group? Fatma? Let's have order there. Now, sorry for the interruption, but we have to, we have 3 guests, 2 guests who have joined us, and we would love them to address us briefly, say hi to us, and then address us. Sorry, they came in when Charles was doing his presentation, so we couldn't get time for them to address us. So I would like to give the chance to Madam Jebet, who will talk to us briefly. Then after that, we invite our director, Dr. Mwangi, to officially now talk to us and open, though they came in when the session was on, so we didn't get time to introduce them and give them an opportunity. I hope we are not so late to do that. Thank you, sir. So, Madam Jebet.
Thank you. Good morning, AgaKhan team and our able teachers. How are you? I'm glad that I've joined you this morning to come and witness your reflections for the past, I don't know, 1 year or how many months, and 10 months. And truly speaking, I'm sure people who come through this place, they don't go home the way they came in. I'm sure from the experiences that we have had in the field, you are doing very good work. And I want to congratulate AgaKhan. May we have continuous development of our teachers' programs so that we become the champions in the teaching fraternity. And I'm sure that you'll not let us down. You'll not let AgaKhan team down. Just be the best so that one day people will say they are the products of this place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Jebet. Now it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Mwangi, who is the director in Mombasa County, the education. So I hope I'm getting it right. So he'll tell us it's the education within the county. Yeah, education. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Good morning. How are you? I think today is a great day. Is it? Yeah, it is. When we see you smiling, a team of committed teachers with a lot of expectations. And I know from what I can see displayed on the walls, yeah, this is quite exciting. You wouldn't have done this when you first came, but now you have something, and you are proud of what you have done. Yeah, somebody once said, and this is Jeff Moore, that success isn't rushed. When you want something, you don't rush. Yeah. But the greatest reward you can ever have is the journey that you have started. You have started this journey together, and I can see a lot of journey here. My journey in e-learning, when I come here, I can see my journey in whatever else. Yeah, I'm happy to have seen a community of committed teachers, and I believe the quest for learning and even achieving more in your career did not start by the time that you are called for this training. I know that we have come from different schools, different colleges, different trainings. And as we come up with a new education system, the skills that you are trained in those years, I don't know how many years. If we start talking about the many years, Anastasia, I know there are many years. And things keep on changing every now and then. When I look at the children of today, that child in PP1 or PP2, are they shy? Are they shy? They are very bold. Now go back to those years, Nafula, when you were just a tender young girl. Were you as bold as those children? No. They are very bold. And they can ask very challenging questions. You have them. They are your children. And at times you have to think before you answer them, because you don't know whether they are testing you. I don't know whether you have that moment where you, you ask yourself, is this child trying to test my knowledge? Or is this child asking so that he or she can understand? Yeah, they come up with various things, and they are very bold. At one time I say that these children, the parents of those days could have said that these children are mannerless. They are talking when the adults are talking. They can sit with you at any one place and they don't care. It's none of their problem. But those days, even when visitors were coming in your home, the children knew that they had to wake up and go to the bedroom because the visitors and the adults are talking. But these children are not like that. They are different. So the different type of training that you went through needs to be researched. You need to come here again so that you can be re-energized, so that you can be equipped with the new skills, so that you can be able to cope up with these young children. And I know that's why we are here. I can see somebody right in there, a 21st century teacher. Yeah, and I have seen several of such stepping into 21st century. As a teacher, what are the skills that you have gained through this course? What are the skills? What are the tools that you have gained from your colleagues wherever you are? And how can you be able to use this knowledge? I know you've been talking about the 3 domains. Which are the 3 domains? Those 3 domains, they mean a lot to a teacher. They may not mean a lot to any other profession, but to you as a teacher, you know what they mean. What is the knowledge that you have gained through online courses? Nasikia mnasumbua Charles sana nyinyi. Namsumbua. Hajashtaki lakini najua mnamsumbua sana. Yes. And at times you can now test yourself on what we call emotional intelligence. Can you be able to go back? Ama we ni mtu wa ma-temperature na ma-pressure na issues. Sipati hii, mbona siruhusiwi, mbona sifanywi hii, mbona mimi tu mwenyewe najaribu ku-upload. In fact, I was reading through those things. And through the challenges, one was that the most challenging task was uploading my assignment. And my phone is not the best. You know, all those things. But this one goes with your emotions. That even when you are challenged, you should be able to think and think deeply. You know the competencies that we are using so that we can be able to train our children, teach our children. And as you guide the children through those competencies, have you acquired them yourselves? Problem solving, critical thinking. Do you have them? Can you ask a child to solve his own problem, yet you as a teacher, you are complaining? You can't sort simple things. Mpaka uonyesha hasira, macho unatoa, meno yote nje, call in your friends and they are using the same phone and you are asking them to assist you and yeah, even giving up. I want to believe there are some people who have given up completely. Ama sivyo? Yeah, and that is the journey. That is the journey. So for me, it is an exciting journey, and this is what we call a community of you people. People who are like-minded. And out of you, I believe we shall now be able to use those skills that you have learned. You will be able to use that knowledge. Because the moment you don't use those skills, they will be as good as they'll be useless. Okay? When you sharpen a knife and you don't use it, and then it stays for 3-4 months, will that knife be useful? Will it be as sharp? Use those skills. Education multiplies. Use those skills, okay? So for me, I'm happy for AgaKhan and the way we have interacted with them. And I believe this journey has not come to the end. Let's use it. Let's optimize. Let's be able to make good use of the skills that we are learning in this place each and every day. That even when we go to your schools, whether you are a leader, whether you've done the literacy or mathematics, we see a different teacher. And I know we will see that unless you want to refuse the skills that you have learned or you are still resisting. Even now, even at this point, 10 months, you are still resisting to understand, to use those skills. You are still not changed. Then you wonder if you can't be changed in 10 months, what else can change you? You become a dead what? Dead wood. Yeah, na dead wood inaekwa jikoni. Itupa huko. So you must be useful to our children. Use those skills that you have learned and ensure that for you to internalize what is inside you, you also have to influence those other teachers in your schools. Be a good administrator. You are a leader. Learn how to relate with the other people who are around you. How is your relationship with the primary school head teacher? Is it good? Are you sure? Will we be able to see improvement? Manake kesi ambazo nazipata nyingi ofisini. Nyingi. Yeah, it's poor relationship. Nyinyi wenyewe, and especially the teachers in charge. Why are you still fighting? Why are you still fighting with primary school head teachers? And you are different. Use those skills to make those people understand you. Yeah. Go and see them. Learn. Talk to them. Let them see a different person. Me, I'm not going to solve those problems any longer. There are far too many. And I can see some people here. Na kesi zao tayari. And then I'm asking myself, huyu na amefundishwa? Ahmed. These people, they are giving me a lot of problems. They've been here and I'm still getting cases up and until this morning. And I'm asking myself, now this person has been trained to be a leader. Why am I getting these cases? Yeah? Not true. I have had several calls this morning. Yeah. Yes. You can't relate with your head teacher? And you have the skills? Was there a need of coming here? No, improve on that. Sawa. I don't want to hear those cases any longer. I'm tired. Mi sitaki kuzisikia hizo case. Madam Jebet, mi sitaki kusikia hizo case kabisa. Yeah. We have a list of 30 leaders, teachers in charge. Nikiona jina lako hapo, I will ask AgaKhan to delete your name. And besides it, iandikwe untrainable. And then we demote you. We just demote you. Yes. We don't want to see those things any longer. I thought that you people having been trained, you are going to improve the relationship. But you are still grappling and fighting. No. Let's change. And your journey should be a journey of improvement. A good journey, a changed person. Okay? You have started. Let's move together. And may God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we need to give him a better clap. So what we'll do, tupashe mikono tumpe moja ya nguvu, sio? Pasha. Pasha. Tumpe. Thank you so much. Now I return the mic to Dr. Malusi, who will take us through the instruction rounds and the lessons learned. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari, for that. And I don't see anybody here who is untrainable. Or is it me who cannot see properly? Anyone here untrainable, unteachable, unreachable? So what are we saying about us? We are trainable, we are teachable, we are able to change, isn't it? Okay. Now that we've talked about those that were seen in the field, they've given you what happened. Did you have any reason to fear? I know many of us were afraid. Somebody told me she did not eat the previous night preparing for us to. Unfortunately, we didn't go to see her. And I had to ask for forgiveness for the team from her. And fortunately, she forgave us. She did not eat. It was difficult getting a shower in the morning. She got to school at 6. And then at 9, we are saying that we can't make it to school. Did we have any reasons to fear instructional rounds? Did we? From what they said, from what those that were seen said, did you have any reason to fear? And just so I may know, what was your biggest fear? Just so we may know, as AgaKhan, as coordinators, what was the biggest fear? Anyone? Don't be afraid. Si tumesema kuogopa tumeacha. What was the biggest fear? What did you think might happen or might go wrong? What is the worst you thought might go wrong? Getting low marks? Anyone thought about getting low marks? Hata mkikosa kusema najua. So, we are going to talk about the instructional rounds. What is it that we really wanted? And what are instructional rounds in the first place? So, what are instructional rounds in the first place? And we say that instructional, are you writing? Okay, so if you want to write, it's okay. I'll go at a speed that you can write. We say that instructional rounds is a practice that will combine three main things. One of them is classroom observation. And about 2/3 of us that were seen in the classroom. That is the literacy and numeracy. We saw you in your classroom doing what you do best. We came to the classroom to see you. Then we were also interested in seeing where are you from where we started. And because we did not see you before we started the program, for us to know that there was some improvement, we looked at what we were teaching, what we've been going through, and we want to see it through what you are doing in the classroom. Can we see something that we discussed in class and you're implementing that in class? And that is where we hinged our improvement on an improved strategy. Like if you talk about doing a lesson plan, are we seeing the things we discussed in class about a lesson plan in the lesson plan that you're using in class? Because if you're able to see that, we are able to see you doing classroom management, we are able to see you grouping children the way we talked in class, then we can say there's an improvement here. Then we were also talking about network of educators. Do you share the information that you gain from us? And many of us, like for those that are in the same school, we saw a little bit of peer teaching, peer coaching, and that for us was a very big plus. Because like if I give an example, during our time, when you go to the classroom, unafunga mlango na unajifungia hapo na watoto wako na mnakaa hapo. You don't allow any strangers to come to your classroom. But this time around, we went to classrooms and we could find teachers calling other teachers to come and be with them in that classroom. And for that was something that was really, really good. And it was not just you that we were looking at. We were also learning from the field. And I want to believe many of us that we saw, we later sent you a message. What was in the message? If you remember those that were seen and we later sent you a message after we left your school, what was contained in the message, text message that we sent? Anyone? Hakuna mtu alipata message hapa? Ili hang? For the 30 of you? Wow. Hakuna mtu nitumia message? Pamela siku kutumia message? Ama ndio natafuta saa hii? Oh, yes. So many of the message was, thank you for letting us into your classroom. Thank you for the learning we gained from you. Because for us, it was a learning journey. We were also on the journey of learning. Because there are so many things that we learned from your classroom that probably without coming to your classroom we would not have learned. Then the process also provides a disciplined, collaborative way for teachers, schools, and stakeholders to diagnose learning needs for learners and educators. For us, we were able to see where do we still have points of need. Where does this teacher or teachers need, where is a point of need that we could address? And for that reason, when we came back, there were many things that we sat down and as a team we discussed and said, probably we need to do this in a different way from what we had planned before we came to school. Then the focus for us was in improved learning tasks. We wanted to see an improvement, as I talked about that, we wanted to see an improvement in the learning tasks. What are you giving your children? Also a shared vision of high quality teaching and learning, and as I said, many of us are working in open classrooms where we are calling other teachers to come and see what we are doing as we learn from each other, as we share the knowledge that we gain from here. What are the objectives then? What is it about, what does IR, instructional roles, attain to achieve? One of them is gain perspective into the way you design and integrate learning into your practice. What we discussed on Thursday, are you able to implement some of it on Monday? Are you able to implement some of it on Friday? Are you able to do it even 2 weeks later or even a month later? Are you able to integrate that learning into your practice? That is what IR is about. When we come to see you, we want to find out what is it that you're putting into practice that you gained from the classroom, the virtual session. And also issues of shared vision of learning and quality. Again, as I said, are you putting into practice what has been learned in the classroom? Are you sitting down as a team from school A to discuss what you learned whether be it literacy, be it mathematics, you sit together, because pedagogy is pedagogy, whether you're doing mathematics or English. Pedagogy is pedagogy. Are you able to sit together with that teacher who is doing something different from you and come up together with something that you say, yes, I think this is the way we should do our grouping in our classrooms? Whether you did it in literacy or in numeracy, you can still sit together. If Mr. Hamed said this is the best way to do group work, can you tap from that teacher who is in literacy and you who is in numeracy and you did not do that strand, are you able to tap from that teacher and implement that in the classroom? Talk about 21st century skills for the learner. Maybe this other person did not do this and we did this in our session. Are you able to sell that information to this teacher that did not experience that? And then you work on it and see that the children are being trained on 21st century skills. Then again, if where a teacher is stuck, maybe the teacher is, they have challenges having classroom control, and you're very good at that. You know there are some teachers a teacher will stand in front of the classroom and everybody just keeps quiet. Sindio? Even during our time, kuna mwalimu atasimama pale assembly on Monday morning and you are like, this week I have to put my best foot forward. Hakuna kuchelewa, hakuna kuangalia kando, hakuna, that kind of thing. There are also teachers that will come to a classroom. Kids are all over the place. Wengine chini ya desk, wengine swinging with the teacher's skirt, wengine on top of the... But when this teacher comes in front of the class, everybody sits down and they have their hands together. If you're that kind of teacher, and then there's a teacher in your class where they go to class and everybody is everywhere saying everything to everyone, and everything in between, are you able to help that teacher get some managing skills, classroom management skills from you on how to manage? Because once you have children all over the place, there's sometimes there's little learning that takes place in that classroom. Because everybody's trying to make every other person quiet. There are those others that are wanting to shout above every other person, and then it looks more or less like a market class, where it's more of a keep quiet class. Everybody is keep quiet, the teacher is keep quiet, and everybody else is let's keep quiet. Focus on learning tasks. Focus on learning tasks. What's happening in the classroom? Is there learning that is taking place in the classroom? Out of the 30 minutes, how many minutes are spent on task? Tasks that you've planned to teach that day. Again, that is another objective of IR, and also understanding and identifying ways to build a collaborative learning community. If you look at the two slides that I've talked about, the very last slide is about sharing information, collaborating with other teachers, opening your classroom to other teachers, and also getting out of the school to talk to other teachers. So we went to the field, we came to the field, and what did we see? What is it that we were looking for? Tulikuwa tunatafuta nini kwa shule yenu? Hatukuja kutembea tu, of course kutembea tulitembea, but there are other things that we were looking for. And I'll start with the classroom observations. I'll start with the classroom observations. When we came to your classroom, what is it that we were looking for? And one of the things that we were interested in was, is there evidence of planning for instruction? What does that mean? Is there evidence for planning for instruction? When we checked your timetable, many of you are very generous to give us your timetables even without asking. For some, we had to beg for a lesson plan. Now I'll be very, very explicit. I know when we were talking to you, we were not explicit. Now they are here. I'm telling them what we found. Some of you, we had to beg for the lesson plan. And somebody would candidly tell you, I did not write it. I forgot where I put it. And of course, you could read through their eyes that there was no lesson plan in the first place. So we were looking for, in the lesson plan, besides many other things that we were interested in, are the learning activities aligned to the learning outcomes? Kila mtu alikuwa na outcomes. Wengine wako na moja, wengine wako na 4, lakini there were still outcomes. Others, the outcomes, and thank you. Dr. Mwangi for asking them about the learning outcomes. Skills, knowledge, and attitudes. Wengine understand, wengine count, count. Count 1 to 5, count all of them knowledge, and there are 5 of them. So again, we were looking for, are the learning activities aligned to the learning outcomes? If you want children to count 1 to 5, are the activities that you've given them about counting? And is it just about counting on the surface? What else do you want the child to be able to do? All right? What else do you want the child to be able to do besides counting? So are the activities aligned to the learning outcomes? Again, we're also looking at time management. You get a timetable, or rather a lesson plan that has 6 activities. And remember, the lesson is 30 minutes, 6 activities, and the teacher takes the first 5 minutes singing a song that is not related to the learning outcomes. And there are 6 activities. And the class has 40 children. And each of those 40 children is in a group. And the teacher is alone. So time management, you've already taken a very big chunk of the child's time singing. Somebody saying irrelevant, that is not mine. Singing a song that is not related to counting. So that is also something that we were interested in. Again, we were also interested in learning whether the teacher is able to share the learning outcomes with the learners. Do we do that? Let's be honest. If you do not share, it is okay. We are learning, remember? We are on a journey. Do we share the learning outcomes with the learners? Sometimes. Thank you. Others are saying yes, others are silent. So I take that as yes or no, or we. Sometimes. Which are these times that we do not? When is it that we do not, and what reason would I give for that? I want examples. Remember, this is an interactive session. This is what we're supposed to do. Interactive mathematics instruction. So which are these times that we do not? Okay, let me start from the positive. Which are the times that we share? And what is it that you tell the children? Dr. Mwangi, we talked about unteachables and unlearnables. And I don't see anyone here. I think they're just thinking about it. They're just thinking about the question. So which are these times that we share? Yes.
Let me say what I do. On my objective, let's say, for example, I'm teaching numbers, and we are going to learn number 1 to 20. So before I start, I draw a line to the side of the blackboard, and then I tell learners, today we are going to learn number 1 up to 20. Today we are going to learn number 1 up to 20. So by doing that, these children already have an idea that the learning today is number 1 up to 20. So after that, then we introduce the numbers. So when I introduce the numbers, I can start by singing or telling a story about that number. Then we stick to that objective. It is number 1 up to 20. So when we are counting, we will count 1, 2, 3 up to 20. So at the end of the lesson, we stick to the objective. Make sure that we align that by summarizing the number 1 to 20.
Let's give her a clap. You don't have to tell them every other thing. That is enough. Number 1 to mtoto akienda nyumbani aulizwe na mzazi, leo mlisoma nini, atasema number 1 to 20. Kama huyo mtoto hajafikisha 20, amefikisha 12, atakuwa anajiuliza, teacher alisema tutafikisha 20. Mbona mimi leo nimefikisha 12? You know? So it is important, let them know. Let them know what you intend to do with them during that particular period. Okay? All right? So which are these other times that we do not share? If you do not share, just put up your hand. I don't have the register. And Dr. Mwangi, funga macho na Betty. Hawata kuona. If you do not share, now you know what you can do. Just let them know what we are doing, okay? Let them know what we are doing so that the child is is like, nikienda kuulizwa nyumbani what we did, then they will tell what they did, because again, at the end of the day, the child knows I am supposed to do 1 to 20 by the end of this session. Sawa sawa? Okay? Then resources. Resources. Many of our classrooms have very beautiful resources, talking walls, very recently made resources, and we were very impressed. However, we have some schools that have, you know, the official yellow pages. Officially, initially that it was white, but now it has imekuliwa na jua mpaka imekuwa yellow. Gini imeraruka, imeweka sellotape, imeweka masking tape, imepandikwa kwa ukuta. And it is just being forced to be on the wall. And from the look of things, hiyo ilitengenezwa jana because we said we are going. So let's up the game on material development. But many of us are doing a great job. Many of us are doing a great job when it comes to material development. So just like I've said, what was observed was majority of teachers had lesson plans and relevant resource materials for instruction. Many of us are really doing a great job. We are trying so hard. We are trying so hard, and I wish to congratulate each one of us that we came to see. Because, and I know, because we saw like one in every 3. That was a good representation that you are doing a great job. And again, when we were picking who to see, we were trying, we picked schools from urban centers, uko nje na huku katikati. So we were not just going to urban schools or the schools outside the urban center. We looked at schools everywhere. So we know it was a good representation of the teachers that we saw. Give yourselves a clap. Okay, what else were we looking for? And again, that is what when you are planning for instruction, just a small caption, when you are planning for instruction, you know, you are seated there and you are, what method are you instructing, the manner in which the content is taught. Of course, when you sit down to plan, well, this is what I want to teach. How will I teach this? What method will I use to teach, to pass this message across to the learner? The instructional materials you are picking, it has to be relevant to what you are teaching. And also, how do you plan to assess? How do you plan to assess understanding? You've already been in class for 25 minutes and now you want to summarize the lesson, the last 5 minutes. How do you plan to know whether the content has been understood? Again, very important. So when you talk about planning for instruction, you are thinking about, this is what I'm going to teach, this is how I'm going to teach it, this is what I'll use to teach it, and this is how I'm going to assess whether learning has actually taken place. Again, all that should be tied to the learning goal. All that should be tied to the learning goal and the learning outcomes. Again, what else were we looking for? We were looking for interactions in the classroom. We were looking for classroom activities and interactions. Classroom activities and interaction. I said we are first talking about pedagogy, those that were seen in the classroom. I'll talk about leadership later. So our classroom activities linked to the learning outcomes. And again, I said many of us, actually quite a number of us, had our children doing activities that were linked to the learning outcomes, to the content that was being taught, activities that were both hands-on, children are doing, and at the same time they're also thinking about it. Hands-on and minds-on activities were seen in the classrooms. Again, quality of collaboration during group work. Quality of collaboration during group work. How are the children interacting with each other in their groups? How are the children interacting with each other in their groups? And for many of us, the groupings and the group were working well, because we had children, although many of us have classrooms that are a little bit large. I went to a class that had, was it, Buddy, how big is your class? Buddy, how big is your class? 121. With one teacher, those are a little bit many. So just how you make groups in that room? How you make groups in that room without an assistant teacher may be a little challenging for some of us. So again, I'm waiting for you to settle down. I know you are trying to digest how you work with 121 kids. Yeah. Yes, at a go. 121 in one room, at a go. Again, the quality of collaboration in the classroom. Children are in groups, and although they are supposed to be doing group work, many of them are working individually. Many of them are working individually. There is really not any rich collaboration or rich interactions between the children, child learner, and learner. Those are some of the things we were looking for. How rich are the interactions? Of course, children at that age may not really appreciate sharing things. Remember, they are still at that age where they want everything belongs to them. So they may not be very keen on sharing things. If you tell them to arrange the numbers that look alike, of course, identification of symbols, many of them, akishika hiyo moja anakaa nayo na ni kama anaficha. You know? And then that can also bring a lot of conflict in the group. But we saw a very big attempt of teachers making children understand that this is a sharing lesson, it's a sharing session, so we need to share, and because we are learning, I need to see the number 5s put together, and I want to see, you know, this is what I want to see put together. So there was a big purpose attempt. Teachers attempting to put children in groups and having those children respect even the responses other children are giving. So there was a lot of deliberate effort by teachers to have rich classroom interactions. And as I just from my comment, learners in groups, but some still working as individuals. Again, that has to be a deliberate effort for us to make the children learn to work in groups. And also, what proportion of time, task time, are learners fully engaged? I talked about that. We need to avoid spending too much time on tasks that are not related to the content. There is a lot of clapping, and I'm sorry to say this, but there is a lot of unnecessary clapping. Unnecessary clapping, unnecessary dancing. Of course, you can motivate those kids. You can have as many responses, then at the end of it all, we clap for everybody that responded, we dance with everybody that responded. But not after every one question, somebody comes to the front and they dance for 2 minutes, they go back, somebody responds, we clap for another 2 minutes, somebody comes again, we even sing the school song. You know, so there's a lot of, we can put all this together and do it at the end of it all, because we could be spending too much of children time doing things that we can actually do at one go. All right? Tuko sawa? Am I being too hard? No. Thank you. Thank you. And that's why I said plenty of time is used off tasks and songs not related to content of the day, so probably we need to tone down on that. For those that are guilty, we may need to tone down on spending too much task time on things that are not related to the content. Quality of classroom language. Quality of classroom language. What language are we using in class? I know many of us were in our best behavior because AgaKhan is here. Best behavior. Sikuona kiboko anywhere. Sikusikia, you know, everybody was darling, you know, the kids were darling, everybody was everything. Of course, nikikuja kwako utaniwekea chakula kwa ile sahani nzuri, si ndio? Yeah. So I can't say much about language because we didn't feel like there was any inappropriate language. But if you use it when we are not there, then you know what to do. Appropriate language and activities were used in the classrooms. Appropriate language and activities was used in the classroom. Only that during assessment, you may be tempted to use some language that you feel that at the end of it, or when you're on your way home, you're like, did I really have to tell that child that? Did I have to look at that child like they don't know? You know, when I'm talking about that is when you ask a child a question in class and then they respond way out of topic. What do we tell them? Kaa chini mwingine. Have you really responded? Umesaidia huyo mtoto kweli? No, tutasema hapana for now, depending on what comes after that. Maybe you ask another child the same question and they respond positively. But then now, how do you get back to the one that you told akae chini? That is now when now we see whether you are using the correct language in the classroom. Because when you tell them to sit down, they've told you something. You ask them a question, and then you tell them to sit down without telling them whether they are right or whether they are wrong. But when you call upon somebody else to respond to the same question, what message are you passing to the child? What message are you passing to that child? Umeniuliza swali, nimekujibu na ukaniambia nikae. Then you ask somebody else the same question. What are you telling me? That the child is right, the child is wrong. Then after now this other person you've asked whether the same question and they give a response, then you are like, let's clap for them, let's dance for them. So what message are you sending to the first child? Then after now you've congratulated this one and motivated them and danced for them and clapped for them, taking another 2 minutes of class time. And then you don't call that child and tell them where they went wrong and why they went wrong. Now that is where we go wrong. Okay? So let's remember that even those 121 children are looking up to you. Every child in that class is looking up to you as the teacher to teach them. You are not teaching 121, you are teaching each of the 121 in that class. Sawa sawa. You could be the only person that is going to call them by name that day. You could be the only person that is going to call that child by name that day. So let's use the right language in class as we teach. Again, classroom interactions, you could be looking at that. Classroom interactions. How do you choose who to ask the question when everybody's hand is up? How do you choose who to ask the question? Kila mtu ameweka mkono juu na kana kuangalia tu hivi kana kungojea ukaiti. And there are 40 of them. How do you choose? Which is the best way to respond to this? Hapa kila mtu ameinua mkono. How do you choose who to answer the question? Si wanawekanga mikono juu kwa class? How do you choose? Let's hear. Yes? Yes.
One, two.
So what we do, we have the name tags, and in the name tags, each child's name is there.
Could you start again, please?
Okay. We have the children name tags, which we use in class. So when it is time for answer, you pick a child which gives equal opportunity for all the children to answer that question. But the one that is going to be lucky is the one that is going to be picked. But you should not be biased. And if one child has had a chance and you're already picking it again, you transfer the card to a different team so that at least others also get a chance.
Okay. Mesikia hiyo? Mesikia hiyo? There are mamas here. Kama watoto ni wengi. It's a random chance.
You have a big class, you make sure that at the end of the week, each child has got a chance.
What is a big
answer.
class to you?
Even 120 is
Yes.
a big class, or 40 is a big class, because one lesson you cannot like give a chance to all the 40 children to answer the questions. So maybe the first lesson, you've had 10 children answering the question. So those names, you make an agreement with them. These names, you've had a chance now, you are going to give others also an opportunity. So coming the next lesson, you will pick from a different team, whereby those who had a chance, their names are not there. As you move on, by the end of the lesson or the day, you reflect with the children. This group of children had a chance today. So for this group of children that did not get a chance, tomorrow we are starting with you. So at the end of the day or the week, at least you've manage to talk to all the children.
Okay, that is one way. That's how they do it. Does it work? It works very well. Okay, those that do not use that, what do we use? Wewe. Wewe nani hapo? Yes? Those that do you use? Yes? Wapatie hii. Yes, you wanted to say something, please? Use this.
Good morning, everyone. So I have a class of 41, and among the 41, I know each and every child, plus the ability of the child. So what I normally do, even the children in class know those who have answered. So sometimes in class, I might choose someone who had answered. They say, nani haja answer? Teacher, najana nani haku answer. So they also help me, because sometimes you can choose a child today, because making a record of these ones today, this one, to me, it doesn't work in my class, because with 41, you'll only see maybe some in front, but it's good that I've always given them that freedom. So they can just tell me, teacher, mimi jana siku answer, so today you will answer. That is what I do.
In my case, what I normally do, I've grouped my learners into 5 groups. So they are 19. So so I've grouped them.
No, they are 19.
Okay. So I have 5 groups in my class. So when I ask question, I will respond according to the group. The first question or the second question, I'll choose a learner from the first group. Then the second question, I'll select from different groups. That's what I normally do.
Thank you for that. There's somebody else who wanted to say something, yes?
Hello. My voice. In my class, we have 24 pupils. Hello. In my class, we have 24 pupils, a group of 4. In each group, they are numbered, number 1 to 5. So if we're on Monday, that is day 1. All the number 1s will be given the opportunity to. Then on Tuesday, that will be 2. The number 2s will be given the opportunity to answer questions. It reaches Fridays.
Classrooms. All right? We are picking things that we can try in our classrooms. Tuko pamoja? Another method of doing that, you can still feel because many of us are using groups in our classroom. You can still ask the children to discuss in their group, then one of them just responds what the group has discussed. Sawa sawa? Are we together? Okay. So that gives us another way of looking at responding to children in group and interactions. Something else that we were looking for when we came to the field. Something else that we were looking for, assessment. How do you assess learning? How do you know that children have understood what you are teaching? How do you know that children have understood what you are teaching? Again, we saw a lot of formative assessment. We saw a lot of formative assessment in the classroom. Teacher looking at a child and they can actually tell that so-and-so is not really happy today. What is happening? What is happening to so-and-so today? Today you look unwell. You've been very quiet today. I heard a lot of that. You've been very quiet today. Is there a problem somewhere? You know, that kind of language. But teacher trying to find out why is this child not the child that I taught yesterday? Why is this child not as active as they were yesterday? So there was a lot of question and answer method used in the classroom. There was a lot of questioning and answering in the classroom. And even during the questioning and answering, many of our teachers are using code switching. There was a lot of Kiswahili in the mathematics classroom. There was a lot of, I want to believe there was also that Kiswahili in English, I don't know. Ahmed, was there Kiswahili in English? Yes. Yes.
Now, for me, I have no problem with them using Kiswahili, even mother tongue. Because at this level, we are doing language activities and encourage that we build from the first language. Now, I've introduced the second language. So that code switching is very important for us at that level so that they are able to link what they are learning in class and the environment.
Thank you. So the idea is to understand. We are not trying to teach English in English. We want the children to understand what we are teaching them. So as I said, there's a lot of code switching, teachers using, and refreshing of questions to ensure that the child has actually understood what you want them to do. And that was very encouraging for us. And again, something else that we also noticed in the classrooms, when we are doing summative assessment at the end of maybe a term, I saw some commercial tests. Nursery pia tunanunua test. You set the test. Yeah, there's a school that I went to and I saw a commercial test, and I was wondering whether the others are doing the same. So I'm sure we can do that ourselves without having to buy those tests. Then that is it with the assessment. Assessment, you start with instruction. Instruct the child, then assess. Then if you have 19 children and you are teaching sorting, and only about 12 of them can sort the items you've given them maybe in color. They can sort colors. Only about 12 of them can do it in color. Then what about the other 7? What about the other 7? You need, at this point, you need to reflect what happened to the other 7. Why are they unable to sort in color or in shape or whatever it is that you're doing? Then from your reflection, then you should be able to know what to do next, to take the next step of action. Do you reteach, or do you take them back and go through the content with them, or what do you plan to do with them? So at this point, it is very important. The reflection point is very important at this point. This is where you decide, are you going to reteach, or are you going to take them for a session with them? Are you going to read the whole content, or are you going to take the few that were unable to get it and have them sit through the content? Or again, are you going to repeat the same with different resources? Are you going to do the same with different resources? Again, if you get that, it is now the 7 that are getting it correct and the 12 are getting it wrong. What does that tell you? You have 19 children, you are teaching some content, and only 7 get it correct. The other 12 get it wrong, or do not quite get to that level you feel you are comfortable with them. What do you do? What do we usually do when we get to that point? One person, please. I'm sure you don't encourage, yes? You reteach. You can decide to reteach. Somebody else, you can reteach. This is Anastasia. Anastasia will reteach, yes? Change the methodology. For example, what were you using? Just stand up. Maybe you are using?
Hi. To my side, I will change my pedagogy style. Yeah? For instance, I was teaching about, I consider the learning style of the learners. Maybe I was teaching, the first time I used physical style. Sasa. When I used the physical style, huyu visual learner, she was not able to adapt the learning. So I have to change. I mixed the pedagogy, the learning style there when I teach. I use physical, visual, zote zinakuwa ndani, so that every learner can adapt.
So intelligence zote unaweka pamoja so that you take in as many learners as possible. Yes. Oh, your voice is okay. If you could stand up kindly. All right.
I think for me I will use peer learning, where I will use the 7 learners to teach the 12 learners in the class. I'll make the 7 learners to be the leaders in those, to those other class, to all the other learners in that place. So the first learner will have, let's say, 2. I will divide them equally where they're going to teach wao kwa wao watafundishana pale darasani. So I'll go for peer learning.
Peer learning. Thank you very much for that response. She will go for peer learning, where she'll use the 7 to coach the 12.
According to me, I will change the methodology. Maybe first when I was teaching, I was not able to use the materials. I was just teaching as lecture method. But I revisit them, I will use the materials so that they can be able to touch them and manipulate them.
So again, she's going to change the resources. Maybe you change them or you increase them, or it is after, remember I said it's after a reflection you find out what is it that probably I need to change for the outcome to change as well. You know, I need to change this, I need them to peer teach, I need to change my methodology, I need to change the resources, or I need to increase the resources, or probably, you know, you can even take them out of the room. If in case you feel your room is very small, you can take them outside and you have them doing the learning from outside, where they have. Take this, please.
Okay, another point is you're going to give different groups according to their ability. You are giving them activity according to their ability. Because maybe in a group 1, maybe that child can do the counting while arranging according to the objects. Another group, maybe they can do writing. And another group, they're able to do the coloring. You're giving them according to their ability.
Thank you. Differentiated learning again, where you are giving them according to their ability. These are ways of trying to, you know, after reflection, trying to come up with ways to have everybody at par. Something else that we were looking at, the questioning techniques. The questioning of techniques. And many of the questions we are asking in the classroom are recall questions. Many of the questions are recall questions. Questions that do not need a lot of cognitive effort. Questions that do not need a lot of cognitive effort. And probably we need to rethink the way we question. Because when you ask a child, what number comes after 4? See, they've already memorized the numbers and the order. What number comes after 4? They will start, in fact, they start counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, then they'll tell you 5. Now, suppose you are to ask them what number is between 3 and 4. Then they look at you like, teacher, there's no number between those 3. You know, then you can now, you know, vary the question and find out whether they actually understand the order of the numbers and how, whether they can actually tell you the numbers in between 2 numbers or even 2 missing numbers. What is between 6 and 8 or 6 and 9? Then they'll be able to tell you, and you can actually tell that these are children that we are moving together. Then we also tried to find out the distribution of questions between boys and girls. Distribution of questions between boys and girls, and many of us are making a lot of deliberate effort to have as many girls as boys answering questions in class. Many of us are putting in a lot of effort to make sure if 4 boys answer questions, either 5 or 4 or even 3, depending on the distribution in the classrooms as well. There are some classrooms that have either more girls than boys or more boys than girls. So sometimes you may realize that balancing the boys and girls may not be possible because you have more gender, more boys than compared to the girls. But there was a lot of deliberate effort to have as many as possible answer the questions. Then wait time. What is wait time? The time between a question and response. The time between question and answer. And we wanted to find out, could we be giving either the boys or the girls more time to think about a question compared to the other gender? Could we be giving girls more time to think about it because we feel maybe they are, you know, the things that we feel? But fortunately, the waiting time was balanced between the boys and girls, and I wish to congratulate each one of us. And when you're asking questions, remember every child in that class needs a moment of success. Every child needs a moment of success. And a moment of success will come in when you ask a child a question and they get it correct. And how do we ensure that everybody gets the questions correct? By asking open-ended questions. Open-ended questions have no factual answers. So when you ask that, every child will get it correct. Every child you pick on will get it correct. And that should be the biggest chunk of the questions we ask in class. Open-ended questions. Kwenu mko wangapi? Hata akisema wanne na unajua wako watano, you know you can't tell them because you don't know why they are saying 4. You know you can't correct them. You don't know why they are saying 4. Sindio? Yes. So that child is correct as far as the question is concerned. Because they have their own reasons why they are saying a number that's different from what you know. Sindio? Okay, then now we come to probing questions. A question that will be followed by another question to find out. Maybe you can still use that open-ended question. If you are saying you are 4, but then unamwambia sasa hesabu. Hesabu the people that are in that family. Then you may realize there are actually 3, not even 4. Okay? The probing questions, then now the closed questions are the ones that are facts. The facts, what number comes after 4. All right? So if you use the funnel effect when you're asking questions, every child will be a happy child because leo niliulizwa maswali na teacher na nikapata. That is the gospel they will be preaching out there. Teacher wetu ni mzuri anatulizanga maswali kila mtu anapata. That is the gospel they will be preaching out there. Safety in the classroom. Safety in the classroom was also something else that we had a very big interest in. Is there room for movement? And like I was saying about Buddy's classroom, safety in the classroom, is there room for movement? We saw a lot of children hopping on desks and chairs and on each other. Gladys, in your classroom, there was no room for children to move. But fortunately, the children had devised a way of moving from one point to another. The room is so small and the children are many. You know, at that point, you may not have a lot of control at that point. But then the activities you can, when the weather is good, you can have the children do it from outside. So that you also have maximum activities in the classroom. Resources well arranged. We saw some, again, deliberate effort to have the resources well arranged. Children moving in files, of course, to avoid tripping on each other, to avoid falling and all that. Then evidence of bullying in the class. We were also looking at those things, evidence of bullying. I saw a bit of that in one classroom where a girl was actually slapping a boy. And the girl was way small, smaller than the boy. Maybe it's because we were there looking at them. Maybe it's because we were there looking at them with Eunice that the boy did not respond. respond appropriately according to. So it is important to have classroom rules. Very important to have classroom rules, because classrooms rules rule. When every child knows the consequences of misbehaving in the classroom, the consequences of picking other people's children things, the consequences of spoiling or destroying property, be it the charts you have in the classroom, be it other children's books, whatever it is. If we have classroom rules made by you and the children, they know because they said it. So they own it. So they own it. Mkisema, if you do this to this, then this is what happens to you. Because they are involved in making the classroom rules, then they should be able to own it. So we need to make classroom rules that rule the classroom. Then, that was about pedagogy. There could be other things that we did not put down. That was about pedagogy. Now, when it came to leadership, the TIL class, we expected to see the leader having developed a mission and a vision. And the good news is that majority of you have done that. But the other team, the minority, may not have, or maybe you did, but it was not accessible the day we came, because it is somewhere in between the books, somewhere under the files in the cabinets. And you could not trace it that day. And I would ask Charles to respond to that. I'm sure he has something to say about it.
Good morning. 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 Good morning. Oh, it's afternoon yet? Now we start again. So, yes. Go all of them. Fine. So the center mission and vision, okay, all of us have developed something, put it in our books. All of us had a unique one from the primary school, except in one incident where the teacher said, Mkubwa amekataa. The Mkubwa here being the head teacher of the what? Of the primary school. But they had them in their books. The biggest challenge here was that they remained, like my colleague has said, they remained hidden. And I want to be very open here and compare what we found in Mombasa versus what we found in other counties. Ni vizuri pia unasoma kutoka kwa wengine. So in other counties, they had the mission and vision statements displayed. And where they had challenges with the administration, they did not display them outside. They had them in their class displayed. And it's not just here. It's prominently displayed up there in the classroom. And where they didn't have a challenge, they had them even outside the classroom. And it's not one, big one, cheap. It doesn't have to be printed like these things here. On Manila, and put in a place that cannot be rained on. So then the other thing that we also discovered is that even those who had already developed and written in Manila and displayed, many of us had not gone through the steps for having the mission accepted. Remember, the mission and vision have to be shared with the stakeholders. Remember the process, colleagues? So it has to go through. The stakeholders begin with your colleague teachers. So we could also, on the sideline, ask another teacher who is there, hey, what is the mission of this school? At a mission. Which school? And you say, not the primary, the ECD. Ayo hakuna. Sinile tu ya, then, and that person had one. Then you can also tell the quality of the ink that was used. So hii imeandikwa juzi. Kindly, colleagues, let's do that and try it. So that was a big one. The other one is safety, policy, and health. And a good number of us had it. And I think it has formed a very interesting conversation, Dr. Mwangi, during our stakeholders meeting, a high-level stakeholders meeting. We really need that. Every school must have a what? A safety policy and a safety and a school health and safety policy. It is of utmost importance. And we are not just taking the other one to Nabandika. Sindio tulikubaliana. We are working through it and customizing it so that it serves our purposes. So even as we live here, I want to challenge you to revisit that. We have an interest. And when I say we, I mean everyone here who is represented in that. Customize it so that it serves your purpose. When you say, and your school is on top floor of a building, and you say that learners should have a life jacket so that they can float, then it doesn't make sense. You know, you get what I mean? Eh? So it should be customized for our purposes. Then the lesson observation tool, many had developed it. Wakati developed during module 1, ikakaa hapo. Then we have been using it, quite a number had been using it, but what they are still using it beats the purpose at a certain point. Many of us have it. Many of us were using it. But two things came up. One, we don't customize it. Because ours is not an observation, an assessment tool that is constant. Ours is what kind of a tool? It is one that is used for us to learn from each other. Sawa sawa. So, the tool I use today is not necessarily the same tool I'm going to use next week. Because what I'll be looking to build on is not the same thing. Once what it is that I'm using the lesson observation tool to build today has been achieved, then we move on and customize it. So we were still using the same one that was looking at active learning. Mnakumbuka? The leaders in the room. So we use the one on active learning, how kids are, the groups are formed, the kind of discourse in a group, the discussions, who talks more, who writes what. That is what we used as an example. It should not remain that. The next time we are doing it, we change those what? The observable, the desirable behavior. What do I want to see in this group? It doesn't have to be the same every day. Tena itakuwa sasa ni monotonous. So we also have to keep on changing to adapt that. And number 2, please, and I'm going to speak this openly. I know that we have somebody called a teacher in charge and somebody called a teacher, but we are all teachers. At the end of the day, we are what? We are all teachers. What we need to do is to buy in lesson observation, not as a boss-servant kind of thing. I'm coming to your class to observe you. Mbona utetemeki? You know that kind of a thing. It is not that kind of a thing. It is a teacher observing another teacher so that they sit and they look at how to build that teacher. Then the next round is that teacher observing this teacher. Hello, hello. Sile mambo na gate na kusign visitors book na wewe ndio mwalimu pale shule. Pipi kumekujwa kesho saa 6 nitakuja kukuobserve. Let me observe you. Come observe me. We need that open door thing. It is the one that leads to professional development. It is constantly there. Forgive my preaching. It is constantly there. You learn from one another. And the final one was sharing learning with others, and this is there. Why we have said very few had done so is because of how we were doing it. It's not that we don't tell others what we learn. When after the session is over at 3:30, we walk home. Mimi na Bimishi, we teach in the same school. Mimi nimetoka ya literacy, ya ametoka ya nini? Ya leadership, sawa. As we are leaving the school, imekuaje? Leo nakwambia. Si tumecheka. Sawa? Tumecheka, kuna mwanafunzi mwingine ametoa nini? So what we are saying is that we're looking for a way to create a structured way, a structured process of sharing what the literacy people what the numeracy people, what the leadership people have gone through. I said, we are all teachers. Kwa hivyo yule amefanya literacy na wale wengine hawajafanya literacy, share with them what you learned. Don't just recount. Share with them what you learned so that they can also gain from your knowledge. Sawa sawa. My colleague says, Dr. Maina says, our head here says, when you light a candle with another, the one that has lit the other one does not lose any light, does it? I don't know if I've put it well. So mshumaa hapo, kichukua mshumaa washe ule mwingine huu utapoa. Ama umelose nini? That is the whole idea. So we're challenging you. The use of very few does not mean that we don't share, but the way we share it is not a structured way. So I have therefore a conclusion, Dr. Malusi, to the leaders and the team here. These are two opportunities that present themselves for us to continuously grow until the day you will retire from the service. One is by observing each other's lessons. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Observing each other's lesson. Observe me, give me feedback. Observe me again, give me feedback. Let me observe you, give you feedback. Hivo hivo. You never get tired of doing that, and you never stop learning. Two, share with others whatever it is that you learn. The more you share, the more you learn. The process of sharing with others deepens your learning, and it brightens the other person's learning. Sawa sawa. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
I have a small announcement. This one goes to the Muslims. For the male, we have 3 mosques around for the Friday prayers. There's the mosque just along, I don't know the road, ukikuja Likoni. Then there's one at Mombasa Primary. Then there's one just behind here. So whichever is accessible to you, it's time you can go. Then for the ladies, you'll have to wait slightly. You have 2 options. You can either pray here, take ablution here, or you'll have to wait until around 2 once the students are through with their meals from the commons. There's a prayer room there. I think you'll be guided by Fatma. She's here. Maybe I didn't introduce Fatma to you. Fatma is the master facilitator for the language, and it's Mama Fatma. And then also have Mumtaz. Mumtaz also a master facilitator for the language. Then have Biria for the numeracy. So the 3 came a bit late. So, oh, Said, where is Said? Said. Oh, there's Said for the leadership. I'm sorry, Said, it's not intentional. Eh? So these ones joined us late. They were with us. You've met them virtually, but today you have an opportunity to meet them. So Fatma will lead you, but that has to be after the students are through with their meals. So for the male, I think I'm clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. So that is it for leaders. That was it for leaders. Thank you, Charles, for taking us through the leadership, what we were looking for in the leadership TIL. And I want to believe he's given you a good feedback. So then there was also something else that we are looking for, the gender responsive pedagogy. How many of us joined us when we had the workshop, the conference on 24th of last month? We sent a link and we invited everybody. Those that joined us, I'm sure you saw us go through gender responsive pedagogy. And gender responsive pedagogy is teaching and learning process that pays attention to specific needs of both boys and girls. Gender responsive pedagogy is teaching and learning that pays attention to the specific learning needs of boys and girls. And this is a calling for teachers to take inclusive approach to lesson planning. When you are planning for your lessons, think about the boys and the girls in your class. Teaching materials, don't just use one color. Maybe boys love a different color from girls. Let's mix up those colors so that we are taking care of everybody in that classroom. The language that we use in the classroom is also very, very, very important. Are we always referring to the He, when we're talking about engineering, the doctors, the drivers, are we talking about she when we are calling on teachers, ECD teachers? And this is something that happens most of the time. I went to a class, and this was a male teacher in the class, and when he's talking about female ECD teachers, kumbuka ni mwanaume anafunza ECD, but he's giving examples of females being the ECD teachers. Why are you confusing our children? Unaongelelea juu ya walimu wa nursery school na we ni mwanaume alafu unasema walimu wa nursery school ni wanawake. You are confusing our children. Anybody can be a teacher and anybody can teach any class. Again, classroom setup and performance evaluation. These are things that we are very keen in when we look at gender responsive pedagogy. What are the classroom interactions? If it is a boy that does not get it right, are you comfortable calling upon a girl to scaffold the boy? If it's a girl that doesn't get it right, are you calling upon another girl to scaffold the girl because you don't want to call upon boys? What messages are we sending in the classroom when it comes to boys and girls? How are we seating them? Remember, at that age, they really do not know who they are. They know I'm a boy and I'm a girl. The many differences do not really apply at that age. They know that there are children in that class. There isn't a lot of differences that the children know. So what were we looking for when it comes to gender responsive pedagogy? We were looking at teachers implementing a gender responsive by deliberately and purposefully designing and using gender responsive teaching and learning materials. The teaching and learning materials you use in the classroom, do they favor one gender? Are they biased towards one gender? Are you only using maybe I could say dolls or even toy cars when you want to teach something? Are the girls comfortable using the toy cars? Are the boys comfortable using the dolls? Because again, remember the culture that we come from. Maybe boys are not supposed to cry because they are not girls. Kwa nini unalia kama mwanamke? You know, why are you crying like a girl? What language are we using in the classroom? Lesson plans, do they favor one gender or are they balanced? The language in the classroom, I said, and the classroom interactions, are we putting boys alone and girls alone? And what explanations would we have for that? Unless you are trying to count the girls and counting the boys alone, what other explanations do we have for putting them separately? Classroom setup and strategies to eliminate sexual harassment and bullying. Those are things that we were interested in when it comes to gender responsive pedagogy. For the leaders, we were looking at, are you able to modify the school timetable so that starting time favors learners who live far away or have domestic or other commitments that affect their attendance? There is one school we went to, and children come to school as late as 10 because there are, were there elephants, Charles? Something. Elephants that are along the way in the morning when the children are coming to school. So children will come to school when the parents are sure that there is no danger for the children. Are you, what plans do you have in place for those children that will miss the first 2 hours of school? We were very keen on that. This is for the leaders. Source for funding to provide food at school as well as access health services. Charles talked about safety and health policy. Again, very important. Are you that kind of leader that will source for funding for school feeding? And maybe that is the only food that that child will get in school that day, and that is the only reason that child comes to school. Are you sensitizing the community on importance of education for all gender and stopping sexual harassment and abuse among other vices? Are you keen on that as a leader? I'm sure that was something that Charles was very keen on when he came to the field, and we, that is the information he was feeding us on when he left. Work with community to address safety of all children when they travel to and from school. And again, incorporating members, both gender, to the PTA in developing gender responsive policies. And also child protection. Are children being protected, and is there inclusivity in schools? Are the children protected, and is there inclusivity in schools. So what do we see? What did we see as far as gender responsive pedagogy is concerned? Groupings and groups. Who takes the leading roles in groups? Again, there was no difference between boys and girls. Teachers, as I said, we are making deliberate efforts to ensure that all the children in the classroom are well taken care of. That it is not just girls or boys that lead in groups. Even we saw some boys taking notes. We saw some girls taking notes, not just the girls being the secretaries and the boys being the presenters. We saw a lot of gender distribution as far as duties and roles were concerned in the groups. Wait time for both boys and girls was balanced, as I said. And questioning sessions, cognitive requirement of questions asked for both gender, not just the girls asked to remember and the boys asked to think about it. There was a lot of balanced questioning and balanced questions among boys and girls. Scaffolding learners during classroom activities, as I said, if it is a boy that gets it wrong or does not quite get what you wanted them to do, a girl could as well be picked to show the boy where probably they're not getting it right. So it was not just a boy being used to scaffold a boy and a girl being used to scaffold a girl. School modifying the timetable to accommodate special cases. We saw that in some schools. A school feeding program in some centers, safety measures in place, school fence, safety in the classroom, safety, safe playgrounds and all that was witnessed. And many learners were dropped and picked by either their elder siblings or even by their parents. So, so what did we learn for us? Oh, I was too fast, sorry. What did we learn from that? Remember, the first slide I said, IR is not just about us coming to the field to observe you in the classroom and to find out where you are stuck, so ndio tuwakwamue. It is also a learning journey for us. We're also learning from that, as I said. Many of the things that we learned would not have learned had we not come to the classroom. And some of the things that we learned, some of the lessons that we learned from the field is that really you are deliberately working so hard towards the 21st century skills, not just for you as a teacher, but also the child. You are also working towards ensuring that the child is up to date with the 21st century skills. You are forming groups. Many teachers are forming groups, like in other counties. We realize that teachers are already in clusters where they are developing materials. In those other counties, there are many schools that teachers are formed clusters. They are developing materials. And I said there are so many talking walls from some of those counties. We also saw that, a bit of that in Mombasa. We also saw a bit of that in Mombasa. And then there's also peer teaching. Peer teaching. I think we saw that across the 4 counties. And also designing and developing resource materials at the cluster level. And also the ground is not level. This is something that I need to talk about. We went to some school in Mombasa. And in that classroom, I think there was a 12-year-old boy. 12-year-old boy, and I think about 5 special need cases in that, quite children that are supposed to be in grade 3. And when we asked the teacher, she said that wale wameshindwa kukaa huko juu wanaletwa huku chini. Wale wameshindwa kukaa huko juu wanateremshwa huko chini. And now the teacher, now you can imagine this teacher with a 12-year-old and another 5- and 6-year-old. And this is a special needs case, you know. And I don't want to ask the teacher how many they were because you know it is. They were quite, I think they were about 20. Agnes, how many? Is it Eunice? How many were they? Yeah, they were quite a good number. And that teacher was alone in that room. Okay? So, as I said, the ground is not level. Many of us are dealing with special needs cases, children that are, may require you to go the extra mile of grouping them appropriately according to their age, needs, and all that. And remember, we we still insist you have to address every child in that class. That may call upon you to put in a little bit more effort, a little bit more time, and also resources. And for that reason, because some of us, and also in some other schools that we went to, teachers, immediately your children go home. Then now you are required to go to the primary school to teach. So they are not getting time to attend our sessions. And if you do, ni kama mguu moja ndani, mguu moja nje. And therefore for us, we are still working on live broadcasts, the YouTube and all that. I'm sure you've seen some of that, those that attended our conference. We were streaming live, and even today we are streaming live. You'll be able to watch this when you get home. So those are some of the learnings that we've gotten from the field, and of course we are working on it and trying to see how we can make it reachable to all our learners wherever they are. And something else, and this is where I started, and it is where I'm ending. Many of us do not understand the concept of instructional rounds. We were not coming to see where you are going wrong. All right? That was not our interest. We want to see, you could be going wrong in 6 out of 10, but then we'll be interested in the 4 that you are doing right. Because that is what we want to up on. We want to see what is it that you are doing right so that we can build on that. All right? All right? Tumeanza kushikwa na njaa? Yeah, I'm a teacher, I can read the signs. So we are not looking for mistakes. We are looking at what is it that you are doing right. And even if you remember those that we saw in the field, where did we start? After we've come to class, like Pamela said, we've already talked to you, tumetoa your woga, now we are waiting for you to go to class and teach. And some of us, maybe not this room, you go to class and the teacher does 7 minutes. And anakuambia teacher nimemaliza. And you are like, when did you start? Na ukiangalia lesson plan ya 30 minutes, lakini in 7 minutes amemaliza kila kitu. Nakwambia teacher nimemaliza, and you're asking yourself, what do I do with the next 23 minutes? So after we talked to you and many of you were able to relax, you go to class, and quite a number of us just forgot that we are there. You just went into teaching your children and enjoying every moment, jumping up and down with your and we really, really enjoyed. Then after that, the first question we would ask you, what did you like in your class? What did you like in your lesson? Then you would tell us, then I would tell you what I felt, then the other person would tell you what you felt, then now we sit together and see what we can make better. Sawa sawa? And some of you, we even went to an extent of showing you that the report that we had, that there was no marks anywhere. Hatukuwa tunapeana marks. Hakuna marks tunapeana. We are out there to learn with you. Remember, it is a work, it's a learning journey. You are learning and we are learning. All right? Now, nimemaliza. Na sitamaliza hivyo tu. Now, thinking about where we started, think about the findings. Now, I want ufunga macho. Think about, reflect on your practice in the classroom. And think about the things that we were looking for. Chukua kitu kimoja tu. Kitu kimoja ambacho unaona, mimi hapa iko shida. Mimi hapa sifanyi vile inafaa kufanywa. Funga macho na ufikirie. Mimi hapa sifanyi vile inafaa kufanywa. All right? Sticky notes, sticky notes. This I'm not doing the way it is supposed to be done. Then write it down. Write that which you feel you are not doing it the right way. Probably you are kuna kakitu hapo ufanyi vile kanafaa kufanywa. All right? I want you to write it down. Write it down, that which you feel, if I was to do this the way it is supposed to be done, I think I would make a very big difference in my room, in my classroom. Think about it, write it down. Write it down. Na usiwe mkali sana kwako. Be nice to yourself, but also think about the children that you instruct, the children that you teach. Staki nyingi, nataka tu moja. Just one. Write it down. Everyone done? Everyone is done? Now, I want you to, you've already written it down. Now, I want you to write down, how do you intend to overcome that? You've already written, this is what I think I am not doing, I have a need in this area. Write hapo chini, how do you intend to overcome that? How do you intend to overcome that? Wewe uko sawa? Haunanga shida? How do you intend to overcome that? Na nimesema usijumize sana. We still need you in next year. Those children still need you in their classroom. Once you are done, what it is that, what is my area of need? What is my area of need? Good. Okay, write what you plan to do in order to overcome that area of need. Write what you need to do or what you plan to do in that area of need. Welcome. Umechelewa kweli. I know, yeah, you had told me. Karibu sana. All right, you're done? Now, our next step. Look at somebody you don't know, you've not talked to today. Look for somebody you've not talked to today. Go and stand next to somebody you've not talked to today. Let's pair ourselves with somebody we've not talked to today, and not somebody you know. I know we started there this morning. Look for somebody you don't know. Or just, let me do it a different way. Just sit down. Let's count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Starting here. And please, let's do it very fast. We have 5 minutes to do that. 1. Every 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Every table 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Yes, yeah. So we can just go like right now. All the ones stand up. All the ones stand up. All the ones stand up. So if you are 2 or 3, go to where 1 is standing, but not from that table. If you are 2 and 3, go to where there is somebody standing and make sure it is not. If you are 2 or 3, make sure you go to somebody who is standing up, but not from your table. Make sure you go to somebody who is standing up, but not from your table. Then, excuse me, the instruction is let everybody in that team share what they have. Let someone in that team share what they have. Then you go back and refine what your need is and then we'll pin that up after lunch. Take 5 minutes to share. Everybody in that team share what you have, your area of need, and how you need to, you expect to overcome that. Then after lunch, we are going to pin that up. Let's do that in the next 3 minutes. Ensure you are sharing with somebody. Ensure you are sharing with somebody. Please stand up if you are seated. Ensure you are sharing with somebody. Mulatia. Oh, they want to hear your voice.
Not really.
They want to hear your voice.
Okay, control the need.
Let me tell them. Hello? Hello, are we done? Are we done? Once you are done, it is lunchtime, but Pius wants to make an announcement. Once you are done, we go out for lunch, but Pius wants to make an announcement. Thank you.
Hello. Jambo jambo. Hata kama mnioni mnanisikia? Okay. So I want to know whether these people are in. Gaudensia Savini. She's not in. Lilian Ogok. Mohammed Saria Pazia. Maria Mohammed. Okay, you signed. Farida Kowa. Sylvia Mwasi. Sylvia Mwasi. Fatuma Farahani. Bahati Bonze. Not in. Okay, thank you.
Finish up on your discussions. Then, hello? Then we are breaking for lunch, and we should be back by 1:30. Let's be back 1:30 so that we do our last session and leave early.